Okay. Now, pictorially, how a two-dimensional array can be represented? Pictorially or graphically, a two-dimensional array is represented as a table consisting of number of rows and number of columns. Okay. Then the syntax of declaring a two-dimensional array is data type, array name, two pair of square brackets. In the first one, row, second one, column. Row indicates the number of rows that particular two-dimensional array consists of, and the column indicates number of columns in every rows. Understood? Then yesterday we had also gone through a quick program like how to initialize the two-dimensional array. Okay, and then displaying the or accessing the every elements and then displaying it as per the rows and columns. Okay. Now, any doubts so far in two-dimensional array? Anyone is having any questions, any doubts? Or it's full of doubts? Okay. Shall we proceed further, wherein we don't want to do the initialization in this way. Rather, we will ask user to enter the elements of the array, that is two-dimensional array, and then store it into its corresponding variable and then display the array elements. Okay. Now, I will get rid of this particular code here. Now, what we need here is that we need those particular sizes here. That is how many number of rows and how many number of columns. Okay, so in general, what we do, let us give a big values, say a 10 over here and the 10 over here. That means now this array can have maximum of 10 rows and 10 columns. It need not to have those many, but it can have less than that as well. Okay, those numbers we are going to read it here. Now, what we will do is that we will ask user to enter, saying that we'll put a message, enter the number of rows, then user will enter one number. Then again, we'll put another message, enter number of columns. Then we will read those particular number also. So two numbers we want to store it here. For that, I require two variable of the integer data type. So let us declare some variables here. Okay, I will declare one like say a row and other one like column. Okay, now row, what it consists of? It consists of the number of rows in that particular two-dimensional array, whereas this column variable consists of number of columns in every row what that array can have. Okay, now let us write a statement here first. Printf, enter the number of rows. Okay, then complete this. What will be the next statement here? We want to read the value. So scanf %d, then ampersand. Okay, I could hear some I also. Is it I or a row? Row. It is a row. We want to store into a row variable. Then similarly, we want to read the value of for the columns as well. So printf, enter the number of columns. Okay, then scanf %d, then what is the variable here? Ampersand column. Understood? Now, the next part is that we want to read the values or the elements of every particular row. Now tell me, what is the construct or what type of a looping construct we need to use here? For loops. How many for loops? How many for loops we will require here? 2. Why 2? Because the two-dimensional array we can pictorially represent as number of rows, right? And in every row there will be number of columns, right? So we will be having two kind of a nested looping structure. We will make use of the for loops. Okay, like let's display one statement stating to be printf. Now tell me total how many elements will be there now? 100. But we are asking user to enter some number here. User may enter here 3 as rows and column value might be 4. In that case, total how many elements will be there? 3 and 4, total 12 values, isn't it? So how can I get those 12? If I multiply this row and column, Will I get that total number of elements? Yes or no? So here in the printf statement, I will mention a statement like printf enter percentage d elements. Okay, I will say that you enter these many elements. What that number of elements will be? Row multiplied by columns. So row multiplied column means what? Suppose here, if the user has entered, say for example, 3, and here the user would have entered as a 4, then this printf statement, how it will execute? So in the printf statement, it has to display these values. But here, the right hand side, that is after comma, second part of this, there is an operation, that is row multiplied by column. So row value 3 and column value 4 will be taken, and that multiplication will happen. That value will get substituted at the percentage d place. So it will be enter 12 elements. Okay, so that it will be helpful for user to enter only the 12 values when the program gets executed. Okay, now let's remove this one. Okay, now we need to write the control structures here, that is nested loop. So how we want to print here or scan the variables? For one, that is outer loop. Inside this outer loop, there can be one more inner loop. Okay, now this we want to construct here. Now, which is the variable, counter variable we will utilize for the rows? I. What will be the first value of the I? 0. Why 0? Because index starts at 0. So I equal to 0, then I less than 10. But is that 10 is the value which is entered by the user? What is the value user is entering here? What is the value which user enters here? Rows. Whatever number he enters, that is getting stored where? Rows. So here the condition I less than understood? Then updation or I plus plus. Okay. Then what is the statement? What are the statements we write for the inner for loop here? J. J equal to 0. Then J less than column J plus plus. What we want to do? We want to read the elements for every array members, right? We want to read the value and store into every array elements. Okay. What is the corresponding statement? Scanf. So scanf. What is the data type? So percentage D. Okay. Now comes the interesting part here. I want to read the element. I want to read the value and store it into the corresponding array element. What are the variables which gives me the index values for the row? I. And what is the index value for the index variable for the column? J, right? What is the name of the array? ARR. So I want to store, that is, I want to store at address of ARR whose positional values or the index values are, for row it is I and for column it is J. Now, does it make sense here? Yes. Now, how this is going to be executed when we try to trace this program? Let's see here. Okay. Now, initially, say, enter the number of rows, that is line number 10 gets executed. It will ask you to enter certain number. Say you enter it the value as 2. So this 2 is what? This is row. Now row is having 2 value. Then next is what? Column. So column you enter it to be a 3. Okay. Then next line is what? Printf enter percentage D elements, that is row multiplied by column. So row multiplied by column will be what here? 6. So the statement will be enter 6 elements. So we are going to enter the 6 elements here. Okay. Now for I equal to 0, pay attention now. I equal to 0, I less than row. What is I value? 0. What is row value? 2. 0 less than 2, is it true? So it will enter into the for loop. Then next, J is equals to 0, J less than column. What is column value? 3. Is 0 less than 3? So it will again enter into the inside for loop, that is inner for loop. Then scanf %d and ARR of I, j. So what is I value? J value 0. That means in the array 0 and 0 position, since it is the address of and scanf statement, whatever number I press, that is going to be stored where? Array of 0 and 0. So this particular position, the number will be stored. Suppose if I enter a 10 value, it will get stored into what? 0 and 0. 0th row and 0th column. Understood? Okay. Next, after this statement is executed, that is scanf, the control will go to inner for loops updation, that is j++. Now j will become 1. 1 less than 3. Is it true? Means it will again enter inside the scanf. So here 0 and 1. So at the address of array of 0 and 1 is what? This is 0 and this is 1. This location. Suppose if I enter a number 20, that 20 will get stored over here. Because I value is 0 and j value is 1. So with 0 and 1, the corresponding cell is here. So the value will get stored in that location. Understood? Yes? Okay. Then after this scanf is executed, again j++. Now this time j becomes 2. 2 less than 3. Is it true? It will again enter into the for loop. Now the number which I enter, it is getting stored where? Address of array of 0, 2. What is 0, 2? This is the location. Suppose if I enter 30, that 30 will get stored over here. Following? Then again, after this scanf statement gets executed, it will come to j++. Now j will become 3. So now 3 less than 3. Is it true? No, it is false. Means it will skip this particular for loop. Now after this one, what is the next statement? The control will go to updation of outer for loop. Now it is I++. What is the existing value of I? 0. What it will become now? 1. So 1 less than 2. Right? 1 less than 2. Is it true? Yes. Since it is true, now it will enter into the for loop once again. Okay. Now for loop will start execution. That is inner for loop. What is the j value initialization? 0. Now j becomes 0 now. Okay. Then j less than 3. Is it true? Yes. It will enter into the scanf statement inside here. In scanf, address of array of I. What is I now? 1. J 0. Means I value is 1, j value is 0. The corresponding element is here. Now if I enter one particular value, say 40, that will get stored over here. Understood? Yes? Then after this scanf is getting executed, where does the control will go back to now? J++. J value will be 1. 1 less than true. Yes. Then it will again enter into the scanf. Now here scanf, I value is, j value is 1. So array of 1 address, that is this row, 1th row and 1th column, this cell, if I enter the next value 50, it will get stored. Then again, j will get incremented. The condition 2 less than 3 becomes true. Again, it will enter into the scanf, that is inner for loop. Then array of 1 or 2. So 1 and 2 is this particular cell value. So if I enter 60, it is going to be stored over here. Then again j++ will happen. Now j++ means now j value will become 3. 3 less than 3, false. It will not enter into the inner for loop. Now the control will go back to outer for loops updation, that is I++. Now I will become what? 2. 2 less than 2. Condition is false. False means it will not enter inside this. It will fall outside the for loop. Now what has happened? When the code has executed, repeated through these nested for loop, it has allowed us to store the values of the every element in the two-dimensional array in this way. Followed? Yes? If you look into the printf statement, we do also have a same thing here. Earlier it was what? We had taken a 2 and a 3 hard-coded values. Now here we will just simply change it to be row, and here it will be column. That's it. Okay. Here I can mention one statement like printf. Okay. The array elements are display. Now suppose let's execute the program and see if there are any errors here. Looks like there are some errors. No, there are no errors. It's ready. Now run the program. Now enter the number of rows. Now I enter it to be a 2. Enter the number of columns. I enter it to be 3. Now it says enter 6 elements, right? So 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 and 60, and then press enter button. The array elements are the same values. Followed? So now what you need to remember is that whenever we have a 2-dimensional arrays and we want to access the elements, either it is for reading or we are going to print it, or we want to do any operation on the array elements of the 2-dimensional arrays. So we must think that there will be 2 loops, that is nested loops. One is the outer and one is the inner. Outer will always give access to the number of rows, that is every rows, and the inner for loop will give access to the every element of that row, that is the column values. Understood? Write down this program first. C program to read and print 2-dimensional array. Online students, you can also write down this program. Don't write these numbers while writing the programs. Only write the coding part. Don't write the numbers as well. Shall I scroll it down? Okay. I'm just scrolling here from this onwards. You want little up? Have you written the above part? No? Okay, wait a minute. The next programs I'm going to take up upon matrices. Okay, you said you have already studied the matrices in mathematics, right? So you need to just brief certain basic concepts about the matrix at home and come prepared for the next class. Like when we can add two matrices, if there are two matrices given, two matrices are there, there is something called as an order of the matrix. What is that? Rows and columns. Okay. Now, if there are two matrices are there, when can we add? Same order. Very good. When both the matrices are having same order, then only we can add or we can subtract two matrices. Okay. Then, suppose if I want to find out sum of diagonal elements of a matrix, what should be the order of the matrix? If there is a matrix, okay, and I want to calculate sum of diagonal element, that is major diagonal elements, what should be the order of the matrix? Number of rows equals to what we call such matrix as square matrix. Square matrix. So if I want to calculate the sum of major diagonal elements in a matrix, the matrix should be a square matrix. Means number of rows and number of columns should be same. Okay, I'm going to take one example on that. Another example is based upon adding and subtracting two matrices. Okay, to do that adding and subtraction, the matrices must be of same order. Means number of rows and number of columns must be same in both the matrices. Then only the addition can be performed. I will just scrolling it down. Complete this one. Okay, already you are having the notes, right? The unit 3 notes with you. Okay, now tomorrow's lab, is it completed? Everyone, writing is finished. Don't talk. Finish talking with. Okay. Now, in tomorrow's lab, you need to get the print programs, C program to find maximum of 2 numbers. Starting from, let me see here. The simple if statement I had given on program, discount if the bill amount is greater than or equal to 5,000, first program. Then in if else you have 1, 2, 3, 4 programs, these 5 programs. All these 5 programs you have to execute in tomorrow's lab. Minimum all these 5 programs you have to execute. If you finish with execution of these things, you can go to the next, that is under the LC part. Okay, mandatorily you have to execute all these first 5 programs inside the if as well as if else. If I find anyone getting the printout in the lab, so the papers will be torn off and thrown into dustbin. Printouts you have to write in your fair book and then get that particular fair book for the lab. Tomorrow's lab as well as the next Tuesday's coming Tuesday lab. Those lab, in that particular lab also, students have to execute the same programs. Clear? Is that clear? Yes, sir. Let us write a program for sum of diagonal elements. Yes. Stop talking now. Okay, those who are sitting this row, last of 2 benches, you all of 4 of you just stand up. Okay. Next class onwards, you should be sitting in the front bench here. All 4 of you, single benches. You have to occupy single benches. If you want to come to the class and attend, you have to sit in front benches. Otherwise, don't attend the class. This is last warning for all 4 of you. Tell me your roll numbers. 245. Next, 223. 51. 279. If I find you sitting in the back benches, then you will be suspended from the future classes. Clear? And in the next class, I want to see your fair book. If it is incompleted, don't at all come to the class. Sit down. Now we want to write a program to find the sum of diagonal elements. Just now we discussed one property about the matrix. That is, if we want to calculate the sum of diagonal elements of a matrix, the matrix should be of a type of square. Square means the number of rows and the number of columns should be same. So let us take a matrix whose columns are 3 as well as rows are 3. Okay, that means if there is an variable I for the rows, it will start from 0, 1 and 2, and if there is a column J, it will again start from 0, 1 and 2. Let us say the values like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Now what are the diagonal elements in this matrix? 1, 5, 9, right? How did you identify? How did you say that this is a diagonal element, this is a diagonal element, this is the diagonal element? As a human being, we can understand like a diagonal here, right? So from one edge to the other opposite edge, if you just draw a line, that becomes a major diagonal over here. And the major diagonal elements are what? 1, 5 and 9. isn't it? So, but how will computer understand that these elements are major diagonal elements? The index value of this element is what? 0, 0. Index value of this 5 element is 1 and 1. What about here? 2 and 2. Means if the element whose index values, that is I and j, both are equal, then that corresponding element can be treated as the element which belongs to the major diagonal element. Yes or no? Correct? Now, what we want to do is that we will start accessing the elements from first element to the last element, like row wise row. Means I will select this element. Here, I want to calculate the sum, provided when this I value and j value, if both are equal, then I will consider that value, that element to be added into my sum. Like I will take a variable sum whose initial value will be 0. Okay, then I will start accessing every element in the matrix from first element to the last element. I know that the traverse will begin from first row, first column, then first row, second column, first row, third column. Once all these elements are over, then it will fall to the next row, first column, then second row, second column, second row, third column. Like row wise, row by row, I'm going to access all the elements from the first to the last. Then at the time of accessing, I will have to check if the I value, is it equals to j value? If it is true, then the corresponding element is a element which belongs to the major diagonal element. If I and j both are not equal, means that element is not an part of diagonal element, isn't it? Now, when I'm accessing this element, what is the I value? 0. What is the j value? Means now, is it a diagonal element? Is I equal to j? Yes, means it is a diagonal element. Now what I need to do? I want to update my sum as sum plus this value. So sum plus 1, that is 0 plus 1 will become now 1. Next, I will be accessing which element? 0 and 1. So 0 and 1 here, I will be accessing this particular element. Now I need to check here. I value is 0 and j value is 1. Are they equal? No. Since they are not equal, should I add it? No. Skip that one. Move to the next element. I value is, j is 2. Are they equal? No. Skip this one. Then move to the next element. What will be the next element here? Fourth element. That is, I is 1, j is 0. Isn't it? Now, is 1 equal to 0? No, means this element you don't consider. Now move to the next element. Next element is 5, right? What is the I value? J value? Are they equal? Yes. Now what has to be done? Add this 5 value to the sum. Sum is already having 1. So 1 plus 5. So sum will become now 6. Now further continue accessing the next element. So now this is 6. What is I value? J value? 2. Are they equal? No. Skip it. Next one. So will this be considered? No. The next element? No. And the next element? Yes. Because I is 2, j is also 2. Both are equal. So this element's value I will take and then I will add it into my sum. So 6 plus 9 will be 15. So is this 15 is the sum of the major diagonal elements in this matrix? Yes. The same thing what we discussed, we are going to put it into the programming concepts. We are going to write the code for that one. Okay. Now, I will make use of the existing code here. Now, only change what I will do is the printf. I know that the rows and columns are going to be same, right? In the square matrix. So I will remove this line, and what I will make is that I will only take, instead of rows and column, I will take this value as n, because n means it is same as it is the row value as well as it is the column value, because the matrix is square matrix. So here I will mention that enter the number of rows. Instead of that, what I can mention? Enter the Square matrix order. Enter the value of square matrix. Now, I'm going to enter only one variable value, so I will store it into an n value. This n will be taken as number of rows and n will be also taken as number of columns. Now here I will mention enter the number of elements. What will be the number of elements here? N into n. N into n. Okay, now then next. Now I want to read those many elements. For rows, what is the corresponding variable? N. For columns, what is the corresponding variable? N. Both are same here. Okay, and then this will not change, it remains same. Now next what I want to do, I don't want to print this one here. Instead of that, I want to calculate the sum. Okay, so here the outer for loop again, instead of row it will be n, and inner for loop for the number of columns, it is also n. Now here, when we were accessing every element, we were checking whether I is equals to j, right? So I can write a statement if I is equals to j. If this condition is true, what has to be done? We need to add the element into the sum variable. So declare, let us one variable here, sum, and take the initial value as 0. If this